I can't. There's a certain level of mind altering shit I can't go into because of just I don't know the way I am, the shit that's happened to me. I just know I can't. I
Did you
can't.
ever did you ever party with Giraldo? Like have drinks and stuff?
No, I didn't party with him. I had beers with him.
Is when you partied with him, was there I only remember him very passingly, the very sweet guy, always said hi, always give me a little bit of advice with a joke to kind of move himself forward past me a little bit, you know? I talked to him once pretty seriously about what he was going through randomly. But was there something different about the way he partied? Was like that you saw visibly, or was that just like a little bit of a like hidden secret with him?
Yeah, no. When I first found out that he was going as hard as he was going, when he started having those, benders, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, I was definitely, I remember
Yeah.
like Greg Giraldo. And so I was like, wow, okay. But I wasn't concerned because he so had his act together and he was such a smart guy and everything. And when he died, he was the guy that made me realize that addiction was a disease. To see someone that smart get get outdone by the drug or whatever or the whatever it is. I mean, I don't feel right. I feel like an addict should be talking about this. I don't feel right.
Yeah.
I mean, I got issues. I'm not like a fucking addict, but or maybe I was just smart enough not to go down that trail. But yeah, that was the one because I think just knowing a few addicts and I lived with one and I was just like, are these guys, are they addicts or are they just some of the most selfish fucking people I ever met in my life?
Yeah.
Everything was about them and all of that shit. And then, yeah, then that happened. And I was like, it's like, well, he obviously didn't want that to happen. He obviously wanted to stop and he had all of this stuff to live for. And I feel like I'm talking bad about him, but
No,
like
no, 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 because I wonder sometimes.
he had a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful kids. He was one of the best comics in the country. He had it all ahead of him and was taken out by addiction. And like that was, yeah, that was one that, yeah, I just, I'll never forget the shock of that. It was like, I unfortunately had a lot of friends die and there's that initial, like, did I just hear what you just said? And then there's like the tears. But with him, it was like, I was in shock.
Yeah.
I was in shock. Well, yeah, because then he hung on for a little bit. And yeah, that's what that was. That was just utter shock. And then he was gone. And I remember I was angry. I kind of didn't go to tears with that one. I went to anger because I had a real bond with him as far as we were having very similar careers where we were road dogging and everywhere we went, we would just do that. New York, I was from Boston. We just did that thing. You bring the lumber, you kick the shit out of them. You come back 2 years later, same club, brand new act. And me and him were doing it. And we were saying, but we weren't getting anywhere.
It's interesting.
Every 2 years we would come back and there'd be the same fucking 70, 80 people, maybe a little bit more and maybe he
Both
had
of
a
you
couple more credits.
and both of you had sitcoms early on and then did the road. Like that's the one interesting thing is when after I got my Will Smith deal, when I was like 6 months into comedy, the two people to pull me aside and talk to me about stand-up were you and Giraldo. The two people who said anything to me about what I was going through about getting early success were you and Giraldo. And then the two people that did the road that I would be like, they're at the Hartford Funny Bone also were you and Giraldo. And I kind of like looked at your careers and I went, I know both of them are funny as fuck and they're not going to be on the wrong path. So if I follow where they're going, I'll find my way somehow. And you're right. Both of you had
We used to call it killing in obscurity, because you'd go to these comedy clubs. They were great clubs, but they weren't like a chain. You know, if you weren't doing like, you know, you started with the local person, then you tried to move up to the Funny Bones and the Improvs or whatever. And then there was there was like the Punchlines and Zanies that were up to me, you know, right there, if not better than the Improvs. And just because of their history, how long they had been there. So, yeah, we were both, and our minds kind of worked the same. And what's funny, I think I've told this story before, is when MTV Cribs came out, we both did a bit on it, and it was ridiculous how similar it was. I think we both even said Britney Spears. I think we both said helicopter.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. And I remember I was at the Cellar and I did it, and he was standing there. You know, Greg was a cool fucking dude, man.
Yeah.
He was a tough dude too. He grew up in New York when New York was like Warriors. And he was like, I used to fight all the time on subways coming home from school. And what I loved about him was he was a real sweetheart, but he hated bullies. And I used to see when someone was bullying somebody, you'd see the bull, like the flame coming in his eyes, and like he'd become this subway Greg. So I always respected that about him. And but anyway, so I get off stage, and then Greg says to me, he goes, oh man, he goes, I hate to do this. And I knew he was going to say, I go, what? I go, which joke? He goes, the MTV Cribs thing. And I'm like, fuck. He goes, it's almost verbatim. I'm like, God damn it. So then we're both standing there, and we had both I made like a CD, and he just did a, I don't know. We both done stuff, and we needed the joke at that moment.
Yeah.
So we made a pact. We go, all right, here's the deal. We'll just do it on the road. Deal? Deal. So neither one of us do it in the city. So, of course, time goes on. There's a million things happening. We both forget.
Yeah.
So I get my half hour on Comedy Central, and so does he, and we both do the bit.
Shut the fuck up.
So then the funny thing was mine came out first.
Oh.
And then his came out, and he called me up, and we were laughing our asses off because it was the early days of the internet, and they were just going in on Greg. You thieving piece of shit. You took it from that Brian Burr guy. Nobody knew me. I was so early in my career. You took it from that redheaded fucking guy. And I remember we would just die and laughing. And I did a tour with him. I did this great tour that nobody went to. Just for Laughs is huge in Canada. Like if you're on the Just for Laughs tour in Canada, I mean, you're playing, you know, amphitheaters. So they were trying to expand their brand, and they crossed the Mason-Dixon line of US going into the US, and nobody knew Just for Laughs, nor did they know the comics, which worked for them because Just for Laughs was the brand up there. We went there, dude. They got a tour bus, and dude, we were playing in front of we did the Egg in Albany, and I remember being so excited to do the Egg. I just remember like, who was it that I saw was there? Robert Schimmel, rest his soul, one of my favorite comics. I was like, wow, man, he goes on stage, he wears the suit, he plays the egg, like symphonies play there. You know, your dreams are so little, you know, when you go, when you're starting out. So we were playing there, dude. And oh my God, it looked like when we played there, it looked like the meeting before the show was going to happen. Like the staff was sitting there and you're up there. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of people here tonight. Just make sure you know, but it was the crowd. So, but we hung out a lot but he was just drinking beers then. And like, I think like it wasn't like something, as far as I know, it wasn't something that he did for a long time. And it just spun out of control really quickly. Like he had like whatever that thing is, it just grew a head and a tail and just, you know, and he kept trying to wrestle it down to the ground. I remember he had a sponsor and he got that tattoo to say that he was going to be sober and everything. And yeah, to watch a guy like that lose that fight, I remember that I had to totally, you know, I was doing, you know, I was an asshole back then too. Like 10 years ago, I was really walled off. So I was just like, addiction, just stop doing it. Stop being fucking, like I didn't know. And then that was the one, you know. So I'll tell you what the mistake I made was I didn't go to the funeral. Really? Because I had enough friends die. And then my last vision, you know, stupid fucking Catholic church, they had the goddamn wake. So now all of my dead friends, I also, I think that the happy thought, and then I picture him laying in the coffin. I'm like, why the fuck did they do that to me? It's like, I don't want to think of Greg like that. I'm done going to these fucking things. So I didn't go. And I learned that you need to go because you have to have that closure and go through that pain. You need to do it because for years I just felt, I knew he was gone, but it also felt like he was just on the road and we just kept missing each other. So I was like, all right, well, that's a life lesson I've learned a zillion times where it's just like, this is painful. I'm going to avoid it and it's going to go away. No, it's just going to be sitting right over there fucking with your life. Yeah. So, but I still miss that guy terribly. Like I think we really were good for each other, like pushed each other. It was weird because we didn't hang out that much. We hung out a lot at the cellar, but we had sort of this thing. I had that with Gaffigan too. Gaffigan came to New York the same time I did, and we did this fucking improv when Bud Freeman's wife had it, and she owned the name, and it was like, it was in the back of a restaurant. She had like this pen light. When I clicked the pen light, and it's just like, and it was like, yeah, me, Greg, and Jim Gaffigan had this thing where everyone was saying like, man, you guys got really great jokes. You guys are really, man, you're one of the funniest guys I've seen. You've done this and blah, blah, blah. But we weren't seeing results. And then there was all these like, I'm the guy who wears this silly hat all the time. And I say, you know, I say my catchphrase and they were just blowing past us. So we talked a lot through the years to keep us on the road of like, no, this is going